Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Dawg Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Harris Sereno, alongside me, co-host Dan Kiley, Kobe Pierce, back here after a 3-week, 4-week, whatever amount of weeks hiatus. We have G-Day recap for you here today. A loaded show, a lot touch on. We'll be touching on G-Day. We'll be giving our overall spring takeaways as the road to the regular season begins. Gentlemen, how are we doing this fine Wednesday evening?
Doing great, man. Ready to get going. Spring football. Spring is in the air. Football right around the corner. Well, summer football right around the corner, but getting excited, man. Really excited.
I'm great. I'm just happy that I think my headset is working now. Sorry for the delay, everybody. We were running a little late. We're having some technical difficulties that we ended up just giving up on completely, and I went and got the gaming headset. So we're going to get through this together.
Your audio sounds perfect right now, and we're hearing you twice every single word you say. So this is awesome. We will continue to roll as long as our I guess electronics allow us to. Kobe, Dan, we have hot topics today. Let's start off with hot topic number one. This one's a hot one. Legit a hot one. Is Nico Iamaleava public enemy number one in college football? Kobe, my man Dan's pointing at you. He wants you to go solo screen first, and then we can go solo screen on Dan for his answer.
Perfect. I love it. Public enemy number one. I would say that he is the perfect person when we look back in, 20 years and we talk about the NIL era of college football. He is probably going to be, the face of that era. He's the guy that I can remember coming out of high school as a recruit, 5-star quarterback. Guys are starting to be able to be paid for name, image, and likeness. And I remember the reports coming out that he had signed a 4-year, $8 million deal with Tennessee as a high school student, as a guy that had never played a down of college football at a time where, we were hearing about guys maybe making $50,000, $60,000. Maybe your quarterbacks were making $100,000 on some NIL deals. Here's a guy that's still in high school making $8 million over 4 years. I think that, that kind of really shifted the market. It really turned into a bidding war for a lot of recruits, realizing that level of money was out on the table for them. And here we are 3 years later. That drama of the money comes first has followed him into his career. There are reports coming out that he was looking at transferring, hitting the portal in the December window when Tennessee was a playoff team about to go play at Ohio State. This man was thinking about hitting the portal, telling them bye. Like, could you imagine the leader of your team looking elsewhere, having one foot out the door as you're preparing to make a run at possibly a national championship? I mean, that's unheard of. So yeah, I think Tennessee made a great choice. They put their foot down. They said, "Hey, listen, man, you had somebody come and talk to us in December. We told you now's not the time. It's not the thing you should be worried about. And now you've kind of drug your feet again in the spring window, basically trying to hold us hostage for $4 million." And shout out to them and Josh Heupel, man. You took a stance, and before he could enter the portal, you said he's no longer going to be a part of this football team. And I think beating him to that punch, as far as in the media's eyes especially, allows you to paint the picture to your side versus to his, because I would say most people you would ask right now would say, yeah, he's asking for way too much. He's doing way too much. He hasn't been a top starter in the SEC, and to be asking for $4 million is ridiculous. And, as we were playing this video, I think I saw just an hour ago, he's committed to UCLA. Not necessarily a step up in any direction to be going from Tennessee to UCLA, going from Tennessee state taxes to California state taxes. I don't care if you are getting $4 million compared to 2.5. You're paying the piper a little bit over in California on a worse football team too.
That Kobe brings up so many great points, and that's why I wanted him to kind of go first to kind of flush out all of his ideas, because he really was that first name that popped, that really showed up on the screen where I am about that life. That is what I want. I care more about money than anything else. And then Tennessee at that particular time hadn't won anything yet, and they were a little bit desperate. So they were willing to play ball in that ballpark. And is he public enemy number one? I didn't think that there could be a quarterback that I didn't like as much as Matthew Saluka. And if you don't know who that is, then this may be a really good pull, Harrison. UNLV's quarterback didn't get the NIL deal that he agreed to from UNLV, so he walked away. 2 games or 3 games in the season, they were undefeated. They were ranked in the top 15, I believe. It might have even been top 10. He was playing really well and just threw up the dish and said, see ya, UNLV, you're not going to give me the money that I want. Out. I didn't think it was possible that anybody could usurp him as public enemy number one, but I was wrong because Nico is that guy. And it's hard for me to put this all on the shoulders of him, but it's his life and it's his life to control. But he wouldn't be the first person in the history of the world to get really, really bad advice from people who supposedly love you and care about you. And if the reports that we hear are true, and it's his father behind all of this, then shame on you. Shame on you. You know, your job as a parent is to prepare your kid for life and then support them in every way, not to make money off your kids. Your kids are not a lottery ticket. They are not here to fund you for the rest of your life. And there are plenty of parents out there who think their kids are their meal ticket, and they think their kids do owe them something. And that's just wrong, emphatically wrong. And if this is true, that all of this is being dictated by his father, then I feel really, really bad for Nico because he's gotten some really bad advice. To your point, Kobe, you just had a potential to play for a national championship. To go to the team is going to win absolutely nothing. So I think it's a travesty of sorts. I said in our group chat today, I have never in my life rooted for a kid to not have success. If there was such a kid, he's him. I don't want this kid to be successful because because if he is, then it allows the shenanigans that he's pulling. People will think that it's okay. And I don't want to live in a world where this is okay.
Dan, we just had mini Dan rant. I did see Dan put out a tweet about that. It might have been even before the Nico news about the people treating kids as lottery tickets or meal tickets. I saw that. Mini Dan rant right there on Nico. In terms of public enemy number one, I do think the one thing that has stuck with me is I haven't seen a single person, former athlete, current athlete, former coach, current coach, come out and defend Nico's side of things. Because quite honestly, this doesn't paint him in a very good picture. I know I saw Colin Cowherd broke the news that he was going to UCLA, and Cowherd's specific reporting was that from the Nico camp, this was not a money motivated decision, which is funny because I don't think you can come out and say that when you're in the April transfer portal after going into the offseason as QB number one at Tennessee for a team you just took to the playoffs. If it was about the offense, if this was about playing in a more pro style offense, more an offense that's more conducive to your talents, why did you not transfer in December? That's my question. So if this isn't money motivated, then what is it? Because I don't think you can come out here and say, oh, this is about the offense. This is about Tennessee not running conducive offense. Because there was nothing this offseason that Tennessee did that made you think, oh, yeah, I'll stick around till the spring window and see if they change the offense. That's not how this works. You opted out the day before the spring game. Like, this is not about the offense. Now, I will say this. The message about, hey, we're moving to UCLA because they have a pro-style offense, I think that's a half-truth. Yes, I do think that is something you're looking at as a pro to moving to UCLA. But to come over here and tell me that, hey, you just pissed on our boot and now you're telling me it's raining, this is not about the money, no, that's a lie. Dan, Kobe, I think this is a bad move. This is a bad decision. I think it puts Nico in a very, very bad look for sure. I will go out on a limb and say this is the worst advice given to a kid since whoever told Jamie Newman he should opt out of the 2020 season. And
that's Quincy Avery
for the draft. Worst advice I've heard since then. Kobe, I don't even know if Were you on that team, or is that right before you graduated in 19?
I was on the staff
Right?
as I was on the staff as strength and conditioning intern while Jamie was there for that spring.
All right. Well, maybe off show we'll
Well,
talk
you
about
know
this.
what? In fairness, the list is extremely long of people who have taken advice from people that were supposed to have their best interest at heart and gotten really horrible advice. That list is endless. I
Well,
mean, there's
here's the
so many
thing,
people.
right? So many people get that advice when, in my opinion, if I think in my core, right, of what was NIL made for, in my mind, it's to take the people that the Stetson Bennett's of the world, guys that are really really good in college, above average, great in college, that are either don't have the measurables, don't have the right situation, whatever you want to call it, in the NFL and the next level to make a ton of money. I don't see that it's fair to not make any money in college when you were a really good athlete. But to me, I'm still at the point where team hopping isn't what I think it was made for, and I really think it was originally something to keep bad advice from happening. I think when guys are juniors and they get like a fourth round grade and everybody's like, you need to go. What if you get hurt? It's money. You're not getting paid. To me, it was a way in my mind of keeping that junior in school going, hey man, we'll match whatever you would get as a fourth rounder this year if you'll stay at Georgia. And then, if you have a good year, if you don't, if you end up getting hurt, you're gonna have that money. You're gonna have a place to rehab. You're gonna be on a team that's not gonna cut you. You're not gonna have to, do all these things that you would have to do in a pro locker room. You're still gonna be somewhere you can be educated. Have a place to live. All those things for free. But in this case, it's literally a bidding war at times, and I definitely am not a fan of it.
I think we set up piece on this one. I think a lot of people have said their piece on this one. I've seen people in college football space, out of college football space, talk about this decision. Haven't seen many people come to Nico's decision to defend this decision. I think that tells you where this is at. Hot topic number 2. This one I contributed here, and Dan I think had his answer almost immediately once I sent it. So I'm really excited to see what answer Dan comes up with. Because Dan asked me a question like, "Hey, can I do this?" I'm like, "Ooh, that's a great question." What is your favorite non-traditional sport jersey numbers? Kobe, I'll let you go first again.
Dan, I don't know if I'm gonna steal this one out from underneath you, but
No
this
way.
is okay. Okay. Whoa. No way.
No way.
Respect the ball knowledge here. But I think that my favorite non-traditional football jersey, and I didn't know if we were doing like all jerseys, so my mind really stuck with football. But the number 0 being added to college and professional football as a number to be worn, and I think the fact, like that Roquan is now wearing 0 as a middle linebacker for the Ravens, like I would have my doubts that it would look cool as a number on the field. Like it's never been a big fan in like baseball or any people like, why would you ever want to wear 0? But man, in that Ravens uniform and middle linebacker, it's a scary looking dude. And it's growing on me. I'm still not a huge fan. Sometimes like a couple of the guys on the team that wear 0, like it's okay. It's not my favorite. I'd rather see you wear like 8 or something that's close enough to 0. Dan,
So
I'm dying to hear.
Who's your favorite player of all time that wore a funky number?
Ooh, my favorite player of all time that wore a funky number. Not my favorite number of all time that wore a funky player.
Sure.
You go. I'll come back to
All
that.
right. So for me, my favorite player, any sport ever, Sergei Fedorov, number 91. Like I had never, ever in my entire life ever seen anybody wear 91. I mean, Wayne Gretzky wore 99, which is pretty cool. And Wayne Gretzky is the best player ever for sure. I'm not saying he's not, but my favorite player of any sport was Sergei Fedorov. He was the coolest guy in the world. He was married, albeit for a very short period of time, to Anna Kournikova, who was the most beautiful woman in the world. And He had the funnest, most awesome Nike commercials, and like nobody was talking about hockey. So it was my favorite team at the time, the Red Wings. They had an all Russian line, which I thought was so cool. And then he wore 91, and like nobody wore 91. So like if you had 91 on, everybody knew who it was, Sergei Fedorov. And I understand that I'm much older than you guys, and you probably have no idea who Sergei Fedorov is. And there's a chance that you don't know who Anna Kournikova is. I hope you do, but maybe you don't. But yes, 91 I thought was the coolest number. Never seen it before anywhere else. I don't know anybody else that wore 91. So it was, for me, it was Fedorov and nobody else. But Kobe, did you figure out who your favorite player to wear a funky number was?
I'm over here looking up Anna Kournikova so I can be in on the joke. You know what I'm saying? She's a nice looking lady.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
I could see it back in the day.
Real power couple. Harrison has no idea who Sergei Fedorov is.
No, I don't. I didn't even know who Anna Kournikova was until I just looked her up.
Sergei
Fedorov.
Okay.
I should have known you were going to go with the NHL answer when you asked me, could I do NHL or NFL? I should have known, which is what spiked my intrigue here. I was like, ooh, Dan has an answer.
Good looking fellow here.
Oh, yeah. He was the fastest skater I've ever seen in my life. Like, he would go from blue line to blue line so fast. It was incredible. You have to watch his highlights. The guy was just insane. I derailed a college football show with Sergei Fedorov talk. Life is complete.
Nice.
Harrison, what do you got, buddy?
I thought about this for a while, and I didn't immediately have an answer. Well, actually, I did. And it's not, I guess, untraditional, because I was looking through a thread on Twitter, and it was asking, hey, when you see this number, who comes to mind? And I didn't realize just how many people had worn this number. And Dan, Kobe, this is a historic number in Georgia history, Georgia lore. It's number 34. Obviously, Herschel Walker. Georgia fans immediately. But then I was looking through the thread. I was like, okay, like how many answers couldn't there be to this question? And Bo Jackson, Ricky Williams, just to name a few. And I'm like, man, there's not a single person that played before the 90s, before like the 2000s, that is on this list. I'm like, man, how many really good players have been wearing the number 34 these days? I haven't seen many, especially at the running back position.
Didn't Nolan Ryan wear 34?
And basically, did he?
The Texas Rangers, maybe?
You're right.
I had to double check. I had to double check there, Dan, but I thought when you said nobody cool wore 91, it automatically made me think of Dennis Rodman wearing 91 for the Bulls for a little while.
But wasn't it 90 or was it 91?
It was 91. He wore 91 for like 2 years for the Bulls.
I didn't even realize that.
No.
How about Michael Jordan wearing 45? Is anyone, Dan? You might have been the only one that was alive to watch that.
Listen, I'm here to tell you that didn't sit well with anybody. Like, we were like, please go back to 23. Look, but I will tell you this: when they were playing in the playoff series, and the guy told him they were playing in Orlando, I believe, and he said, yeah, Mike is dead or something like that. And he's like, mm-hmm. The next day he comes out wearing 23. Boy, that place exploded. I'm talking about, like, he pulls his warm-up jacket off and 23 is back on the court. Woo! I'm talking about fire.
Anyways, guys, let us know in the chat below. Sorry, I got distracted there. Let us know in the comments below who you think your most favorite untraditional number is. Doug Flutie obviously wears a pretty untraditional number, wore a pretty untraditional number. Yeah, there's a bunch. I was trying to find the Michigan quarterback that wore 99, but it was only for one game. And it was
98
or 98. It was to a team. It was a tribute to a 98. That would have been my answer, but it was a one-time thing, and I was like,
Denard Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's on the cover. How can you forget?
I definitely didn't forget. I forgot his name. I tell you that. Anyways, Dan's father-in-law might kill me for that answer, not knowing his name.
Bernard?
Yeah, the Michigan fan on your side of the family.
Mhm.
Gentlemen, let's talk G-Day. Let's talk football. I know I was the only one of the three of us that were there in attendance, but the boys did their research, have their videos. I sent y'all a list of things y'all could read for notes. And I guess the way I envisioned this segment in terms of how we want to do this, we can do this Q&A. If y'all have questions and want me to answer, we can do that. Or we can give, because y'all have been paying attention throughout the spring. So y'all know pretty much everything that's been going on throughout spring practice. And I guess we'll start right there.
I'd love for you to. Okay, we're in a little role play here for Q&A.
Oh boy,
we are but the humble reporters. You are the grand Kirby Smart post G-Day, giving the answers the way you would like him to give them, not giving them the way he gives them, but the way you would like to hear them said.
Oh boy, flip the script on me, Kobe.
I'm telling you, I feel like So we'll start here. We'll start here, right? The question, Coach Smart, the question everybody has: how's the quarterback situation looking? We lost Carson Beck to Miami. He was in the draft, and then he, transfers down for a woman that he's not even dating anymore. Gunner comes in. He looked really good at SEC championship. He looked pretty good in Notre Dame. Where's the quarterback competition at right now?
First off, you're giving Dan Vietnam flashbacks over here mentioning Miami. Those fans are gonna be up in the mentions again, giving him all sorts of problems. Y'all stay away from Dan now. I'll leave Dan alone. In terms of the answer to your question, from my perspective, Kobe and Dan, and Dan, I talked to you about this a few weeks ago after one of the press conferences we came back from. This isn't a quarterback competition. I don't think it was, legitimately. I don't think Georgia went into this offseason thinking, hey, we got to find a quarterback. We don't have our quarterback on the roster. I think after Gunnar Stockton went in and played the way he did in the SEC championship, spent that entire month preparing for the Notre Dame game. And despite what the final score may say, Gunnar Stockton played well in that game in terms of outside of one play, which isn't totally you can't pin it all on him. That strip sack fumble. One play, he played winning football. If you told me he was going to throw it for the amount of yards he did against Notre Dame, I would have thought they would have won it. But in terms of, you look at those two games, that extra month of preparation, I don't think Georgia's in the position they are now in terms of Gunnar Stockton's taking probably 90% of the reps with the first team offense throughout the spring. I would have to guess probably about 90%. I mean, that's the way it looked in the spring game, Kobe and Dan. Ryan Puglisi played just one series with the first team offense. Gunnar got the rest. If that doesn't say anything, I don't know what will. But beyond that, when you look and try to read in between the lines, the way his teammates talked about him in the media throughout the spring just told me everything I needed to know. I mean, I asked Zachariah Branch the question a few weeks ago when he spoke to the media for the first time. I asked him, hey, how much did you know about Georgia's quarterback situation when you went into the portal? And what doll did you see? And he told me, Kobe, I told Dan this story. He looked at us and said, hey, I didn't know much. I knew Carson got hurt. I knew Gunnar went in there and did his thing. And then he said on his visit, from what he saw from Gunnar in practice, he knew that Gunnar was the quarterback he wanted to go play with. And that said it for me. I mean, that's it. When you get a player like Zachariah Branch, who was one of the top receivers in the portal, who's going into a critical year in terms of, hey, this is some money year. This is the year he could go to the NFL. He's going to transfer to a school that doesn't have a starting quarterback returning, an unproven starting quarterback. That says a lot to me. That speaks volumes to me. He has trust and confidence in Gunnar Stockton, and which is why I say to that question, I don't think this has been a competition. I think Gunnar's been your quarterback for a few weeks now.
I think the one thing that everybody really wanted to know coming out of spring practice, obviously a lot of attention was paid to the running game. I don't think that we're going to be able to get a whole lot out of spring because that's just not really something you do during spring practice. But the one area of the roster that is very visible and targeted is the wide receiver group. It failed us. I think if whether you're a certified ball knower or you're just a casual observer, I think the one thing everybody could notice is that the wide receiver room wasn't up to a standard that we think that we're supposed to have here at the University of Georgia. So knowing all of that and having it on display for everyone to see, what's the overall takeaway from the wide receiver room?
That's a good question. I sent y'all that video before the show. It was the scrimmage highlights. I don't know if y'all saw it. The video
I
of
saw
Jeremy
the
Bell.
catch where he slid between the two guys.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I don't know how that's
lucky.
not getting talked about more. And that was Chris Peel. He did Chris Peel like that. Poor Chris Peel. I'm sure watching that back on the tape. I guess I'll ask Kobe this after that answer. In terms of the receivers, Dan, from my view, I do think a lot of that playmaking depth that we were hoping to see Georgia have in years past, I think it's there. I mean, I look at the top of the depth chart, two of your most dynamic receivers you're expecting to go into the year with, Zachariah Branch and Kobe Young, both showed flashes. I mean, when you talk about Zachariah Branch, you think, oh, this guy's going to be a slot receiver. This guy's, going to help out Gunner in the short, quick, intermediate passing game. But no, he went over there and battled with Jonell Aguero on a little slot fade. I don't know. I meant to go back and tag some clips that people took of that slot fade. He went up and it was back shoulder, went up, caught it with Aguero on his back. Impressive catch. Probably one of the best catches of the day. Brought it down at the 1 yard line. I think Zachariah Branch is an immediate hit in this receiver room. I think Colby Young showed flashes of why Georgia missed him so badly. I mean, I don't remember the last time that Georgia had two ex-receiver body types on their team. You have two guys that are 6'4", at least 6'4", in Colby Young and Noah Thomas. I think Noah Thomas didn't catch a ball. It was 0 for 2 on his targets, but that might actually work to Georgia's favor in terms of, hey, people might not know just how dynamic he's going to be in this offense, because from what people have said in the spring, there's not many guys that are 6'5" and that can get out of their route, get out of their stems as quick as him. I believe it was DeMello Jones said he was really challenging out of his breaks. Hadn't seen anything like it in terms of a guy his size. And I guess we'll go ahead and mention Jeremy Bell. Jeremy Bell is a walk-on, folks. 6 foot. He's from Clinch County. Dan, Kobe, I don't know. I didn't know where Clinch County was before he shouted it out. But man, this is a guy that's broken out the spring, had a really good spring. Heard a lot about him. His teammates have spoken highly about him. I won't go as far to say, hey, he's going to be able to help Georgia in a significant role, but it does seem like he's going to be one of those guys that does get snaps early on and gets a chance to take on a role in this offense.
Yeah, I would tell you that historically speaking, guys like Jeremy Bell are why it's so difficult to play at the University of Georgia. Somebody that, you get to come as probably a 3-star walk-on kid that either didn't camp a lot, wasn't recruited heavily, maybe missed some of the key dimensions of being a top prospect, gets in a weight room, grinds for a year, lifting weights, running, and all of a sudden you show up year 2 and the guy's running 4.4 and catching everything thrown his way, maybe grew an extra inch, whatever. And all of a sudden you're looking around going, who the heck is this guy? Where the heck has he been? How has he been hiding on this roster? I just feel like that, like you're saying, to play as a walk-on at the University of Georgia, it seems like we have it happen more and more. But I'm just telling you, those guys are such a step ahead of the scholarship guys below them because they're getting all the chances all the time. So I'm impressed. I'd like to see what kind of role he'll fit into this year.
Kobe, I just brought this up while you're talking. You gave me a chance. This was his touchdown catch. Gunner found him for one of his 2 touchdown catches, and I can't figure out who it was, the DB that he was on, that he got over the top of. But, I mean, Gunner dropped it, had plenty of real estate to drop this one in. Jeremy went down and made the – I mean, look, we got social distancing going on right here. Just a walk in, just run right under it. Touchdown for Jeremy Bell over there in the spring game. I guess let's turn it back on y'all.
Can I ask you a question? Was that your video? Did you video that?
I did not. And actually, let's go ahead and give him the shout out. Dawg Show Podcast had clips throughout the game. Thank you, Dan. Had clips throughout the game.
Well,
with that one.
Never mind. Now I can't say what I'm going to say since you said it wasn't yours. Never mind. I'm just
All
trying
right.
to figure out why somebody at the game is filming the screen and not the field, but whatever.
I will say this. It was clutch. There was a lot of people helping us out in the stands this weekend. We couldn't get but more than 3 minutes of highlights as media, and you couldn't release any highlights until after the game as media. So people like the Dog Show podcast helped us out big time in terms of being able to share with y'all at home what was going on Saturday.
So if everybody did 3 minutes at a time, you could have done the entire thing. You just would have had to been
20.
in cahoots together.
You needed 20 people, 3 minutes at a time.
Work together.
Yeah. I mean,
failed.
there was enough people there between the people in the box and the people down in the sidelines with photo credentials to probably get you that full 2-hour game.
Let me tell you, I hated it. Like, I hate the fact that it wasn't on TV in any way, shape, or form. I understand to an extent why, because you don't want people shopping your roster on the TV, but man, it sucked.
Well, you know,
Agreed.
I think there's a lot of people that were talking about some of the guys on the roster that probably would be picked off if this was. But, I mean, still, we're talking about them. People know about them anyways. Like a guy like Jeremy Bell probably would have some offers in his DMs talking about, hey, you can come start over here. You know, Coulter Ginn was a topic of conversation after the game. He came in and got some reps as a walk-on, went 2 for 2, 57 yards and a touchdown. I heard some people say he threw the best ball of all the quarterbacks. So those are some of the guys that I think Georgia probably would have picked off their roster if this was on TV. But I agree, Kobe. It sucks for the people at home, for the people who don't get to go, who can't travel, like living in California but are Dog fans. They can't watch the game. And this was the first taste of football in quite a bit, for quite a while, might I add, and it wasn't on TV. And Kobe, Dan, I don't know about y'all, but for this game not being on TV, I was kind of disappointed with the turnout. They said there was 35,000 fans, but a lot of empty seats, which I guess you'd expect in a 90K capacity stadium. But man, a lot of empty seats. I thought with the no TV, we would see that stadium, somewhere halfway maybe in terms of capacity. Wasn't that. The environment wasn't great.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny because I went on Robert's show before the game started, and on that Friday, and I talked about this Georgia fan base has gotten a little bit spoiled, and it's not like just that fever pitch isn't there right now. And I thought maybe, and I speculated that possibly with this game not being on television, and that need or that want for football kind of coming back, because it's been a little bit since we've had it, that I wondered if this might be the best turnout we've had since 93 K-Day. Clearly, I'm dead wrong, and clearly this fan base is a lot more. I don't know what the right word is. It's just apathetic right now. It's just like it's not a got to right now. It's just not a got to.
I think the hard thing is I look at like 93 K-Day and the G-Day after that, and I look at how Kirby used it as recruiting tools to get guys here. Go and look at how much our fans care. We sold out the stadium for a spring scrimmage. And to me, he just really hasn't lit that fire under the fans. I think if he would have gone on a 5-week recruiting pitch saying, we've got to put butts in seats, we've got to come out and support these players, we've got to be in the stadium, we want you in the stadium, I want you in the stadium, then I think they would have filled the seats. But I think a lot of fans are thrown off because, we were like 2 weeks into spring practice before they were like, hey, no TV. And everybody's kind of like, whoa, what? And like you're saying, it's Masters weekend. To me, they do themselves no favors in the state of Georgia having G-Day the same weekend as the Masters. I'm sorry, you're at best the second biggest sporting event in the state that day. The Braves are playing. There's a lot of negatives going around, when G-Day is scheduled. But again, I just think that Kirby doesn't really want a lot of eyes on the team. I think that's obviously a fact from no TV. And so I think 30,000 people at $10 a ticket, he's happy. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I would be curious, Dan. You brought up a good point because I was in your camp in terms like, hey, I thought the turnout would increase. Like, hey, this might be a good move in terms of getting more people there and increasing that, that spectacle in terms like, hey, look at this. We got 60,000 fans here for a spring game. I wonder if he challenged publicly the fan base to show up and sell out Sanford for a spring game. Could he do it again? Was that a one-time thing?
He could do it easily. It was zero charge to be at that spring game, so it was free. And he asked, and to me, anytime he's ever asked anything of the fan base, they deliver. And I think that's why, in my opinion, sometimes he turns around and is critical of the fan base, and maybe they're not being loud at a noon game or not being booing or whatever. And I think that it goes both ways. I think that's the one thing that I'm not saying he doesn't have figured out. That's stupid, but just
always has in his back pocket.
He does. He's like, man, we need y'all at this noon game, and I feel like they show up and they're loud and they're crazy. But then, to me, sometimes he also can be like, well, the fans just didn't have it today. It's like,
so that's my thing with Kirby, and don't get me wrong, he's the best coach Georgia's ever had. He's probably arguably the best coach in all of college football. I mean, I'm sure you could argue some other guys, but he's one or two. Okay, he's right there.
It's definitely two.
Yeah, he's one of the best of the best. But his act is starting to wear a little bit thin because he asked for a lot of shit. He asks and asks and asks, and he never gives back. All right, I want both of you to answer this honestly. When is the last time he did something for the fans? Name one fucking time he's ever done anything for the fans. It's all about what he wants and he gets, and I get it, and we love him, and we're going to give it to him. But, that shit does have a limit. At some point, you're going to start alienating fans because it's constant criticism, and it's never giving them what they want, right? All right, you know what? Wear a freaking black jersey once in a while. That's what everybody wants. Wear a white helmet every once in a while. I mean, I don't know. Just give back. They are. You know what? And I saw this. Brooks mentioned this the other night on his show. Is that the people who suffer a lot of these times with the NIL deal is the fans because they're the ones that are funding it. Kirby Smart, the one that is funding your program right now, is fans. Donors, people with a lot of money. You are not funding the team. You rely on fans for money. You ask and ask and ask. Give back something. Taking the game off of television is just another example to me of him pulling back from the fans. And I get it. And again, I'm not saying replace Kirby Smart. I'm not saying that I don't want him to be the coach of University of Georgia. I love Kirby Smart. I think he's the best coach in America. I'm glad he's our football coach. But sometimes I get pretty agitated that it's I want. Give me your money. I need this. I want a new plane. I need a new stadium, new weight room. I need a big ass banner that goes around the stadium. I need a light show. I need all this stuff. He's like, but you can't have your game on television. You can't have a special jersey. And you weren't loud enough on Saturday. Give back something. I don't know. And Arthur Smith is the one that really started all this with me, that really just got me pissy about bad attitude coaches. And it's kind of spilled over into Kirby. And I apologize, Kirby, if you ever watch this show. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm just saying, every once in a while, it'd be nice if you fans, appreciate you. I appreciate the $30 million you gave us to buy players this year.
Oh. I think what he'd tell you is he gave you 2 national titles, and I think that's his understanding of the fan base is as long as I give you national titles, people will get off my back. I think that's he took the job knowing if I win national titles, everything's going to be all right. That's my understanding, because the days of, hey, Georgia's just happy to be there and around, to be 10-2, that's over. Georgia expects to contend. And I think that's what his giving back is, or that's his understanding of the job and what he needs to do to win the fan base. From my understanding, I'm not speaking for the guy, just my understanding. Kobe, you've been to the Kobe. Has there ever been a conversation between him and the team about why he doesn't wear black jerseys beyond the usual? I can't trust y'all because y'all might be too focused on that.
If you need a jersey to get motivated,
I think that's part of it, right? Is like if you need an external motivator that badly to need to play in a game, to need to show up for a game, to need to do that, you're playing the wrong sport, you're doing the wrong thing, you're not feeling the way we need you to feel and prepare. I agree. I think that there's a fine line in things, right? And I'm not one of the big people that am like, man, how are we never giving back to the fans? Because obviously, I agree, Harrison. Like in his eyes, no offense here, we're going to be offending numerous head coaches tonight. No offense to Mark Richt here, if he ever happens to tune this on, but he gave back to the fans in tremendous ways, right? The bones on the helmet, they were cool. The meet and greets with players, picture day, going to the Ramsey and jumping off the high dive. All that was fun shit, right?
Damn it, boy.
But you know what sucked? Getting that ass whooped in the Georgia Dome by Boise State by 21, first game of the season, in the Red Rangers with these helmets on right here. That I was at that game and I could touch the roof of the stadium. That sucked, And if we never wear anything different ever, you know what else sucked? These helmets right here. Mark Richt again. Halloween against Florida, 42-10. We toted that ass whooping in black pants, a black helmet, and a weird jersey. And we toted ass whoopings. I got both these in here. We toted ass whoopings in both of them.
I'm surprised he's still keeping those around.
Two, I love them. They're great. But 2 touchdown plus just tail whippings. You know how many? A terrible thing. Freshman year, we jog out in black. Nicholls State. You know how many points we won that Nicholls State game by? Not sure, Harrison, if you were even in middle school yet. 2 points. 2 points we beat Nicholls State in black, including Isaiah McKenzie. Isaiah McKenzie had a punt return for a touchdown that game. That was the difference between us winning and losing. I think we were 42-point favorites, and we won by 2 against Nicholls State. Fast forward, I think the next time we wore them, COVID year, you play Mississippi State, you win by 1 touchdown. You wear them again because Chick-fil-A Bowl had Kirby in like the sleeper hold that they wanted to do a color rush game with Cincinnati. Takes Jag Podlesny kicking a 54-yard field goal to win that game. Arkansas, you wore the alternate pants. Sam Pittman almost beat you in the first year ever being a head coach, in his first game ever being a head coach. We got DeJuan Mathis.
Superstitious.
We got DeJuan Mathis throwing just absolute ducks on the sideline.
Bumper pool knocked him out of the game.
Jeez, that was
I haven't seen
best
that much
thing
violence in a football game since Bumper Pool.
dude. I'm telling you. So, anyways, what I would tell you, Dan, is would you rather have a jersey collection that looked like Oregon and have their trophy case, or would you rather have a trophy case that looked like Georgia and run out in red helmet, red jersey, silver breeches? That's the way the head. That's the way the head man
to pick uniforms. Or
I'm just saying that, like you're saying, that is what the head man understands. Is you're going to get consistent chopping wood, red helmet, red jersey, silver pants, black. I mean, I'm amazed that our cleats have bones on them. I would think that he would be shitting himself seeing those cleats.
This is the beauty of having two co-hosts, because we have both sides here. We got the North Pole, we got the South Pole. We got two ends of it. And I'm just somewhere here in the middle, like, hey, I know those black jerseys will do numbers for our social medias, will do numbers for clicks, but at the same time, nothing like a championship gets people interested. But nothing like a losing season gets people fired up.
For the record,
a losing season.
I don't want the
SEC champions.
I don't want the black jerseys, for the record, okay? Dan's dream scenario.
I want them, Dan, real bad.
Dan's dream scenario is the icy whites. I want the white helmet, white jersey, white pants.
Brother,
white.
We'll be at Smart Field or Smart Stadium at Dooley Field before you see the something. I don't know. You might as well turn off NCAA 26 if you see the ice whites on Georgia. It ain't never happening.
That's Dan's dream scenario. But, this is the other thing, too. And I, if you need an external factor to get motivated, it's not for you, it's for the fans. Like, who's going to get motivated? I'm like, I don't care if to me, winning or losing is not correlated by what the hell you're wearing, right? I think the players are the players. They're going to do whatever, right? But you're trying to excite the fan base. Like, he's like, hey, we need a loud, rambunctious home crowd. It's just something for the fans. And do the fans need external motivators? Absolutely, because they're fans. They're fanatical.
I have one rebuttal. If the headman ever sees
then we
this,
gotta get back to spring game.
Last point. If anybody ever sees this, that matters. Probably not. Whatever. Just a former walk-on talking. I think that if you set it in the schedule at some point, right? If you ever set it in the schedule where you did it regularly, then it wouldn't be this like big superstitious thing that like loomed over you. Like right now, I feel like he's not wearing the black because it's like his own personal joke that he's like, kind of dangle the carrot out there and then pull it back away. But like, I love the red pants. We've worn the red pants away historically at the University of Georgia. I wish one game a year we wore red pants on the road somewhere. Nothing crazy. Red pants, white jerseys, red helmets. It's a very clean away look. To me, we don't have to wear the silver breeches every single time we play an away game. But if you did it once a year, and you knew once a year you were going to play in the red pants, then it wouldn't be this crazy thing that when you broke it out, if you happen to lose that game, burn the red pants. Never wear them again.
Those uniforms against Arkansas were clean as hell, though.
They were. But before y'all commandeer this joint again, I'm taking back the wheel because we got some spring football to wrap up with. We got 8 minutes before man Dan needs to hop on the road to go take care of some business real quick. Gentlemen, we will have to reschedule the uniform conversation for another week. Maybe even make that a top topic because I know Dan's been holding that in for a little bit now. I guess to finish up our observations to wrap it up. We talked quarterbacks. We talked receivers. I guess let's talk about these other positions real quick, Dan. Let's start with the biggest question, which I think was the lines of scrimmage, Dan. I don't know about you, but kind of like you alluded to earlier, I don't know if there's much that we can deign or talk about in terms of line of scrimmage with G-Day because you're not going to run the ball, and the defensive line knows, hey, they're gonna pass the ball, so I need to get our hands up and try to knock down the line, the ball at the line. I guess, Dan, from your perspective, what is it? Is it something you need to see, or something you need to hear before you have like confidence in terms of? Actually, hold on. Roddy asked us this question, and I'm going to go ahead and ask you this, and because this was a great question by Roddy on the Rumors and Facts podcast, Rumors versus Facts, and both y'all can answer this. After G-Day, just your initial impressions. Is it natty on or natty off?
The University of Georgia is always natty on.
Let's hear it, Dan. What makes you like? What makes you most? What do you have your most confidence in about this football team? I know it's very early, but right now we can come back to this, in August and talk. Where does your confidence lie in this team? You think?
Kirby Smart, Will Muschamp, Glenn Schumann. The end. And 5 stars all over the roster.
Yeah, I would say it's natty on 100%. I would say, if I had to go like my up down or my like high low, so like I think defensive end, outside linebacker right now would be my biggest concern about like constantly, protecting rush lanes, spilling runs, doing things that to me we have done historically really well here. We lost a lot of production. We don't have a lot of depth at that position. I would still think that I would not be surprised if we took a guy in the portal or asked a guy to kind of play out of position this upcoming year. And then I would say your high is just, I would say the moment it got real for me about what last season was and what this season is is I think in a post-spring scrimmage or somebody asked Kirby, like in your mind, and maybe it was Josh Pate, actually, now that I think about it. He said, in your mind, where would you rank the coaching job you did last year? In like all of your years, in your 10 years here, where would it rank? He said, it's 1. He said, we have never had less players ready to play a winning brand of football than we had at the beginning of last year. He said, we were the thinnest and I mean, for lack of a better term, we were the worst football team I've ever had, probably besides 2016, ever. And we still won the games we won on the schedule we won them on, and won an SEC championship game. I think that just speaks to like the Jimmies and Joes, while some of them were highly ranked coming out of high school, had not developed in a way that he was happy with to play his brand of football. And I think now he's got Gunner back at the helm, leading a group of guys that just want to go play football. And I think that's what it really boils down to in this era of college football. And I think that's what Ohio State had. I mean, I look at Jack Sawyer and a couple of the guys on that defense. There's just some dudes that wanted to go play ball. They wanted to go just smash mouth. Notre Dame had guys like that. Their quarterback was a guy like that. Just hand me the ball and watch me go make the play. And I think it's going to be teams like that win constantly in this NIL era of people just out and back and want the money and don't want to play if I'm not playing, don't want to practice hard if I'm not in the right place in the depth chart. Those are the teams that are going to overcome that.
So I didn't really finish my point. Is that yes, we have those coaches, but every year, like we have elite talent that leaves, right? But every single year at the end of the season, there's a guy or two that really start to come on. And that's why I get so hopeful for the next year. So last year, a guy like Cole is a guy that everybody was really high on, and you saw flashes of him. Now we get to see him in a bigger role. A guy like KJ Bolden, obviously he got some run early and then was the starter right away. But a guy like that makes losing a guy like Malachi Starks, it softens that blow because you have somebody that's coming. And I think that's the excitement level. And that's why I say at Georgia, it's always game on or natty on, because we keep seeing that cycle, the evolution, the revolution of the one guy getting ready to walk out the door. Well, now here's a new guy that's taking his place. That's, cut off one head, another one replaces his place, right? And I think that's the exciting thing that we have going on at Georgia right now, and that's why I say natty on.
Gentlemen, I guess just to add this point, to just put the bow on this, and we will touch more on this because we got a whole offseason ahead of us in terms of wrapping up, talking about football. So we will undoubtedly touch on G-Day again here, probably definitely next show. I guess here's my biggest question about last season and how it relates to this season. Georgia returned 4 starting offensive linemen, and you're ranked 95th in rushing offense. You lost 2 of your best playmakers in Brock Bowers and Lamb McConkey. You thought you had answers. You lost those answers early on due to off-the-field issues. Your passing game still was top 10 in the nation in passing yards per game. Somehow, despite you can't catch the ball, you led the nation in drops. Defensively, quarterback run was the boogeyman, was the beast under the bed, the guy you don't want to come out of the closet, you don't want to see, and somehow you still hold on and win some of those games. You play this monstrous road schedule, and outside of the Ole Miss in the Alabama game, you win those games too on the road. Now everything's reverse. Damn it, boy. Dan, I saw the private chat. Now everything's the reverse. You get your hardest schedule at home. You have 1 returning starter in your offensive line. 1. Now you have some other guys that have starts that are returning. Your defensive line, you lose your top 2 edge rushers. You lose your top 2 defensive tackles. You lose all but 1 starter in your secondary. Like, the whole narrative from this team to last year's team is flipped. Last year it was they have all these guys coming back. Yes, they still lost major pieces. Like, they should go out and win it. This year it's Georgia's really, really young, and they don't bring that much back. But the one factor that I think everyone keeps talking about is before they won their first national title, there was a hunger to do it because they hadn't done it in a long time, and they did it anyways. Is that hungriness going to make up for the sacks you had with Jalen Walker and Mike Owens? Is it going to make up for the acrobatic interceptions that Malachi Starks would have go down there? Will it translate into wins in the future? I got a lot of questions still about this team. Right now, in terms of where I sit with this team, I'm not quite ready to say, like, hey, this team's going to contend for a national championship, but I am not in the ditch with Mr. Feinbaum and saying this team's going to be lucky if they get in the playoffs. This team's going to make the playoffs because, damn it, I don't see them losing 3 games because of what we saw with what they did last year with the pieces they had. They're going to get the most out of this team. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for episode 150 of the Dawg Talk Podcast. This is the most I think I talked on a show in a little bit. And I think that's a product of our man Kobe coming in here with the press conference, the reverse the script, the flip the script. Next week, we might schedule I just got the perfect blind draft. Blind draft will return next week. We may have our uniform debate because I think Dan has a little bit more in the tank. Kobe does as well. Dan says he has the best uniform takes. Let him know in the comments below. Miami fans, leave us alone. Dan, Kobe, hold on. I'll give you your cue.
Go Dogs.